Oh gosh. This last realization or awareness or memory or whatever really puts everything together and puts everything in perspective, especially with how organized everything is. I mean, North America, right? The land of the free, even in Canada, home of the brave. Then you go even north of Canada and you get Northern Europe. North, go north, my friend. Find the freedom without rest and peace. Start thinking with your head, not with your uterus or with your penis. Understand the northern and southern hemisphere of your body. The cervix, the upper cervix and the lower cervix. In women, their uterus cervix. And the civil wars. Nation building, the South. The South had the slaves. A lot of diversity. Nation building. And then those who were able to escape their slave masters, they were the stronger ones. They were the ones that would develop the next generation of free people who aren't rest in peace, but who had the ability to survive a really fucked up situation like slavery in the South. And so, so you have then the gang mentality, the North and South, especially in California, like San Jose. You have the northern, the norteños and the sureños. And what was that based on? That was based on the North Norteños, Northern California. And then you have the Southern, like those that came from Mexico or South or LA or something like that. I don't exactly know the lines of demarcation, but it was all about North versus South. Just like the Yankees versus the Confederates, North versus South. Just like South America versus North America, North versus South. Just like, all the countries below Northern Europe, North versus South. You're seeing a lot of patterns and the mixing of the cultures to develop the strongest prototype that is adaptable and tolerant. And so colors and numerology and culture and turf and politics, religion, and science and all of that all work together, and then also mathematics. And so when I figured out that PEMDAS, the parentheses, parenthesis, or pregnant, right? That's first in the order of operations. And then you get your exponents. That's exponential, infinity, or whatever. Then you get your multiplication, division, that's interchangeable. Addition, subtraction, that's interchangeable. That's algebra. And so then you get the integers, plus and minus. And so when you look at the human body, like I just did a stick figure, and I'm like, oh, I get it, because I understand the plus and minus, all interchangeable. Okay, you have the, what is it, the Trinity? Where did I put that? Yeah, the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Where was that? Okay, hold on. Oh, that's right. Monoclonal antibodies, that's right. The Christianity. God, it's 3. Okay. And so when I did the stick figure of the human body, okay, and that's on my Facebook, so it's not like you have to, I don't know if it's there. You can't see it the way I have you see it. But yeah, the order of operations, pregnancy, PEMDAS, the lower cervix. And then if you wanted to tap into relative immortality, whatever that means, then you'd have to deal with the back of the neck. That's why I showed you guys that thing with the matrix. I don't know if you can see. This is your possibility this is your path to immortality. This is where all the programming, the currency exchange, this is the stock exchange, this is Wall Street, this is everything. People get stiff neck, they get cancer, disease, chronic illness, and they radiate, they cut out stuff, and the system uses the microbes for the future generations. And so the cervix, the top part of your spine, is where your potential immortality is. And then you have your heart, all your vital organs, okay, above your gut. So you have your brain, which is one aspect of central processing unit. And then you have your gut, which is another aspect of your central processing unit. And so your brain controls up here, your gut controls down there, and then they have to speak to each other, and there has to be some kind of alignment. But the system actually cuts off the communication between your brain and your gut, and they do their experiments. That's why you're seeing people with weird body, I don't know, characteristics. Because if they've redirected bloodlines and things down there and cut off communication, so you have a bunch of shit down there that is not being released and is causing whatever, then you're seeing so many different phenotypical characteristics called diversity. And so when your body wants to release demons up here and people don't want to, and they're taking their elderberry syrup and their cough suppressants and all of their pills, powder supplements, and they stop the body from releasing up here, then they might get growths, or they might have to do things to redirect communication. And it's so like science and surgery and in medicine. So I don't do medicine, I don't do remedies, I don't do surgery, I'm not chasing after aggressive sexuality. And so then I'm able to make these connections about how the human body is a representation of how our whole world is constructed, north versus south. And it's so crazy. It's insane when you actually think about it. And so, and then I realized the monoclonal antibodies, right? When I'm watching Dexter, okay, and I don't watch murder shows. I mean, I don't like watching like cold case files unless it's something that they've solved and it's not so aggressively gross. But watching the series Dexter, and then I know about the serial killers out there, especially back in the 80s, and the guy Richard Ramirez, and that was one of the scarier serial killers back in the 80s. And yes, he was Hispanic, very skinny, and he looked like the devil. His eyes was just, it was just crazy. And I'm watching Dexter, and the serial killer in that show looked like Richard Ramirez. I'm like, oh my God, that's a fucking clone. They've taken some kind of DNA from Richard Ramirez and put it somewhere, and now this person is an actor playing the part of what he was back then, but through the movies. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm thinking clones and antibodies. And antibodies are the offspring from somebody's immune system. The monoclonal antibodies, when they're using them as therapies, the person takes that information in, they get a relief, and now it's part of them. And so if they decide to have a baby, then that incubus and succubus from those monoclonal antibodies develops a sperm, the egg, relative to who receives the monoclonal antibodies. And then you get some aspects. You get somebody birthing somebody from the past. See, all the therapies, whether it's a VACCINESs or monoclonal antibodies or any other types of sexual orientation, or they're mixing in, things. Yeah, you're getting so much diversity, and also people of the past. And it's crazy. So that's when I'm like, so I made this little rendition of monoclonal antibodies, Attack of the Clones. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, the cemeteries, the military cemeteries. And I'm picturing the military cemeteries of rows and rows and rows of crosses of all the people that died in war. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm thinking like, oh, Christianity, because it's a cross, Christianity. I'm like, oh my God, Christianity. The slavery religion, because yes, they believe in family first and reproduction and medicine, and oh my God, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is so insane. And then the gang mentality. And then, and then the symptoms. I posted that picture of that person with symptoms coming to surface and people pushing those symptoms down and disabling their immune system from actually expressing itself and releasing demons, and they're developing so much diversity that's actually destroying them. Oh my God. And so, so then it just takes me back to then, my youth and understand and being exposed to all the gang mentality back before I was 18. Because I remember I went to juvenile hall because I ran away from home and all that stuff. And it was a good thing because I didn't get caught up in the programming of my peers. High school sweethearts, having sex at an early age, or being forced into an educational type of program that then you get brainwashed, and there's no room for any evolution because your peers in academia will not let you evolve unless the system allows them to evolve. And so then I was able to experience all the different cultures, being exposed to the youth, the troubled youth during that time. And they were all experiments too of the system. And they ended up in, continuation schools. They end up in different institutions. They end up in juvenile hall. They end up in the prison system. They end up, falling through the cracks, becoming drug addicts, becoming alcoholics. And yeah, that's why California is eventually going to be cleaning itself up, because they've developed so many different cultures. And yes, even the gang mentality. And so, yeah, San Jose, California was huge with the gang mentality, and also the culture of cruising and all of that. I mean, you get the red, white, and blue. You get the white power, you get the Crips and the Bloods, you get the Norteños and Sureños, you get even the Asian gang cultures. I wasn't really part of that. No, I wasn't really part of anything. I just was observing from the outside, because I'm from Saratoga, California. And when you're observing these different cultures that fight for their turf and fight for a lifestyle, oh my gosh. Luckily, I didn't have too much trauma with that at all. There was, I was just observing, going like, wow. Wow. And then you think, when you're in juvenile hall and you're in your little group homes and stuff, and then you finally, get out to the real world, you stuff all that underneath. So, and then you bury that, because it's like, oh, I'm so ashamed of that. But no, that was a culture that needed to birth itself at some point, because that would be the platform of why we are where we are, as far as people fighting each other for their politics, religion, and science. And so then it's an avenue for evolution. That's the thing about every exposure to different cultures, to evolution, to different religions. When you're studying things outside of your normal purview, you are giving yourself information to survive the changes in your environment. Because those who are homogenized, that live in homogenized worlds, I'm telling you, the cultures that you're trying to avoid will come to you. And that could be through microbes. That could be through therapies. That could be through just the wind changing and the economy's changing. People leaving areas because the industry is not there anymore. So they move somewhere else, and they mix cultures and all that. And the internet is a huge way to expose people to different cultures. And you see a lot of intolerance on the internet. A lot of it. And that the system knew. That's why we're in a surveillance society, because they knew at some point, when people were finally aware there was something outside of their little tiny homogenized world, they would freak out. They would freak out from the gay culture. They would freak out from the Hispanic culture. They would freak out from the white power culture. They would freak out from the Asian culture. They would freak out from the liberal or the right-wing culture. And you have to give people that time to figure out a platform and learn their culture, but also then slowly introduce to them different cultures so they can assimilate to a very diverse world. Because I'm telling you, how many people here in Ohio know about the Chicano cruising culture? Where would they get that exposure from if it wasn't for the internet? They wouldn't be looking for it on the internet, because they wouldn't even know to even Google Chicano cruising culture, or Google Norteños and Sureños and Crips and Bloods and whatever. Maybe some people would already know about white power, because they live in a world that is only white, and maybe there's white power people in their world. Okay, so the internet is giving people a different, an opportunity to be exposed to different cultures without harming somebody. Because when you go down the street and you're in a white neighborhood and you see somebody that doesn't look, doesn't look like you, people tend to want to destroy things that don't look like them. They're intolerant. I don't know. It's crazy. So, yeah. So that's America. The last greatest fucking experiment. And so up here, you give birth to yourself up here. You use your brain. Up here, you expand your brain. When you start thinking with everything below your waist, you're now a slave. Slaves go into the sports industry. Slaves go into all the different athletics. Slaves go into birthing children. I mean, it's great. Yeah, you can go and see if you can be better than everybody else. But that's taxing your body. And then it's painful to come back from that. Do you know the last few weeks, the pains I've been dealing with is in my arms? Because even though I did use the bottom portion of my body for soccer and all that, for some, yeah, I think my PMS, releasing the demons through my PMS, because I'd have to take time off and I would get diarrhea and constipation and all that, and then releasing also the eggs through the period stuff. So I've been releasing a lot of demons over time, and that's me releasing what could have been a major disease. So yeah, I did have fatty tumors below the waist, but they're gone. I released them the last few years, last 7 years. And so up here, I didn't really develop so much up here, but up here I developed a little bit because my mother gave me that opportunity for academic capability. But then my arms, the having to deal with arm pain, because that's your lymphatic system. You know, your back of your neck is the top part of your cervix, which is where the people get plugged in the Matrix and all those different shows, and where people get killed through the zombies, right? The zombie apocalypse, when you take a knife and put them in the head, right? That was all the zombie stuff showing you how do you destroy someone is through taking away their ability to evolve themselves, because they can't handle the pain and suffering. And so the back of the neck, this is right here. I started growing this the last few years. This started coming up. Okay? It's when the body finally corralled all the information that I acquired over how many years. It gathered here, and then I had the stiff neck. I had the pain and suffering. And this right here is the evolution. This right here is the evolution. And how you destroy someone, you take this away. And you make them redirect their longevity, if it's even possible, down there below their waist. So they're highly sexual. They're having children. Or they're developing huge poop babies that they can't release because they're afraid of diarrhea and they're constipated and they're whatever. Yeah. And so the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Go north, my friend. Go north and find the freedom. Use your fucking brain. And you have to feel the pain. If you can't feel the pain by using your brain, then you'll be stuck with taking the remedies, having a hatred and intolerance for the world because you can't handle evolution, you can't handle change. And you're afraid of air, food, and water, and then you'll be just used for whatever you're programmed for. Because that's how the system developed such a diverse society, was they knew how to control up here and down there. And so when people who are extremely obese, the system stopped them from releasing because they gave them so many different drugs and remedies and herbal remedies and stuff to disable the body's release process, because the person couldn't handle pain and suffering or whatever they thought was pain. They saw a rash and they had to go and do something with it. Every single time I had some kind of trauma or rash or something come up, and I pushed it back with creams, or I took antibiotics to stop the pain, I've had to revisit everything that I've ever dealt with in the body, in the mind, spirit experiences. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, that's those who've seen so much, when they finally are able to release the demons of brain fog and war, and they win the war in their body like I did the last few weeks. Oh my gosh, more neural connectivity, new neural pathways. That's fucking immortality right there. Is when you can finally deal with the pain and suffering of releasing demons and not trying to cut out your potential evolution, longevity. Or else, yeah, you'll be developing new viruses, babies, or you won't be able to develop babies. You'll just be developing new viruses and you'll cut them out or remedy them away and then starve yourself because you think air, food, and water is poison. And look at the population. They're either extremely obese, or they're so skinny and emaciated, aging so aggressively, or they're on a string of drugs, or they're being operated on, and all the above. Countless surgeries. And so, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I can't be the one to say that you can handle what I've been doing, because I've had an excellent platform of so much diversity before I was 18. I didn't have any kind of major drug use as far as prescription drugs or being completely addicted to any kind of drugs, even before I was 18 or after 18. Yeah, I smoked pot, drank alcohol every so often, but I couldn't handle that over. I thought I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, so I went to NA and AA, and I'm like, no, she's not really a drug addict. But I was very sensitive to what I could have potentially gone down, and I would like, I know the thing that I battled the most was smoking the cigarettes. But the pot and the alcohol, that was just like a phase and a fad and a way to fit in and a way to just, turn off my brain and just be reactive to my environment. Alcohol and drugs does that. And then the cigarettes helps, distract from, well, what do I do here? That's why I don't party anymore. I can't go and hang out with people unless they're willing to talk about things. And who wants to talk? So if you can't talk to people, then you just get high with them, or you get drunk with them, or you get distracted with them. But even then, how many people want to go to museums? And do what? And go travel everywhere? I go on the internet and do that. So, or sell something. Oh yeah, I got something to sell. Here, buy this. So, and so when you finally use your brain, you're not going to really be hanging out with too many people. Because you're going to be using your brain, and then you feel your body go through its bullshit. But yeah, oh my God. Oh my God. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. And I feel no pain. I feel no freaking pain, but I just have this awareness about everything. It's like all the trauma and all the whatever of the diversity of the last 50 years has gone away, and now it's just all the important information to make the connections to understand the world that I live in without inducing fear, but promoting a tolerance. Not to say that you could achieve what I've achieved, because you'd have to go through a lot. And your foundation would have been relatively okay, because when someone has so many surgeries, like so many of them, and then they're trying to do what I'm doing, and they're like, oh, they had a surgery on their leg or something, and then I don't know if your body would open up where you had the surgery like my dog did, when she was going through that, going back in time and shit. I don't know, and I would not want anyone to be scared like that. When you've had surgery on your leg for whatever, and then you do what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden you see the hole come up on your leg, and you're like, oh my God, you're going back in time and reliving what your body went through when it was under the knife. You don't want to do that. And if you did want to do that, you'd have to know exactly what you're in for and who wants to deal with that. That's why what I'm doing, not everybody can do it, because they've had so many surgeries and so many implants and transplants. And when you're under the knife and under anesthesia, your body is screaming, but you don't feel it. You don't hear anything. You don't feel anything until afterwards. But imagine if you're going back in time, doing what I'm doing. Holy shit. So I just talk about myself. Because how many people have gone through the surgical system? So many. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's a lot of suffering out there. A lot. And if you get bullet wounds, even though you got the bullet removed, that wound, maybe it healed, but when you do, let's say you pretend you're doing the J world, and then you're feeling pain where you had that bullet wound, and all of a sudden you see it's opening up, then you have to cover it and eat food, and then have the food and all that, then fill in the gap. That's my theory about reliving the past, is that whatever it is that you've done to your body that was traumatized, you'll have to relive that. And no, people don't want to do that. And I get it. I fucking get it. And that's crazy. And so that's why the system does what it does. And that's why they give people, drugs and whatever to just be happy with whatever. But now I really look at it, I'm like, oh my God. yeah, I was lucky enough. I didn't have any crazy surgeries. I think the worst thing that I dealt with was a sprained ankle. And then the doctor just used surgical tape to just keep it in place. But then I got all the hives from the adhesive. I'm allergic to adhesive. So it's itching. But then I re-injured my ankle maybe about 13 years ago when I first met my husband. Because I was playing soccer with people and my ankle just gave out. And I couldn't walk on it. I had to wear a boot for a few months. And so now the last few years I've been feeling on and off sensitivity in my right ankle. But it's okay. And even when I was helping that dog go home just a couple months ago, and I hyperextended or did something, twisted my ankle. A little bit of pain the last few weeks, but then no more pain afterwards. At some point, it healed itself. It took a minute. So you can heal your body with food, but you have to release the demons of damage when you think about it, and eat food and rest and really make a point to change out the old programming. Because some people are MS-DOS. They're working with Windows 95 in their body. They're working with MS-DOS, and they have trouble upgrading. That's why they're in the medical system, in the hospital system, because they are MS-DOS or Windows 95. And they cannot possibly get up to Windows 11 or Windows 12. And that's difficult, and that's crazy. That's the world that you live in. That's America. So this heat is a very humane way of people releasing the demons or dying suddenly so they don't have to suffer through the pain. Because you're watching all the die suddenly who are suffering through the pain, and then they're watching their friends die suddenly, and it sucks. But would you rather watch your friend go through so much countless surgery and so much countless suffering and they're in pain all the time? People pray for a die suddenly for those who are suffering so astronomically. It's crazy. But yeah, this is fucking insane. So that's why I posted that thing about the bridge. This is the bridge up here, and the Starship Enterprise. And the holodeck is your womb. That's the holodeck. That's the virtual reality. That's whatever creation from all the monoclonal antibodies, from all your sexual partners, from all the diversity, from all the therapies, even the VHCC INESs. And then the incubus and succubus in your body cause you to be sexually active, and you go find somebody, and you all have a great ORGY, and out comes a baby with so much diversity. That's sexual reproduction, and that's also the Attack of the Clones. Star Wars. Yeah, the world is not what you think, man. And when I was watching Dexter and watching that guy look just like Richard Ramirez, I was like, oh my God. It was a little jolting to watch. So you're looking through the eyes of Hollywood, the world that you live in. That those who want to be so homogenized, okay, I get it, but when you're so homogenized, you won't be prepared for the society that you're avoiding forcing themselves into your world through climate change, through economic changes. It's rather interesting. So I'm not reading all this. I wanted to write it out because I needed to write it out. Because I really get the bigger picture, of course. But I said, yeah, go north, my friend. You will find the promised land. That right here, your brain is the promised land. If you can release the demons down there. And if you can't release the demons down there, there's no fucking way you'll get to the promised land up here. Because Northern Europe is the promised land. And everything is relative. So those who are in Southern South America trying to make their way north, they're trying to get to the promised land. Mexico could be the promised land. Texas could be the promised land. So those are in, again, like in Wales and the UK. Northern Europe is the promised land. Go north. Start using your fucking brain. Like, seriously. Release the demons. And if you can't, then yeah, you will be extremely sexually active. You'll be looking for friends, family. sexual reproduction, sexual orientation, and then distractions. Which is why they gave, yes, those in Europe holiday, 30 days holiday. Because you work for so many months. And so America, we're worked to death. But you go to Europe, they get 30 days holiday. So then go be distracted, go to Saint Tropez, or go to, the, what is it? The French Riviera, right? They go to the Bahamas. They go to Europe and be like, okay, I'm going to go do that. Yeah, that's so like, okay. That was the programming to reward you for all of that work that you had to do and family. But in reality, the freedom is not working for those 30 days vacation. Freedom without rest and peace. Freedom without rest and peace is, is not living for the weekend or the 2 weeks vacation or whatever. Freedom is your brain. Not working it down here, it's your brain. And so I got very lucky that my mother really made me hate school so much. Because she knew I'd have to figure out with my body, with everything else out there. But she gave me the foundation of academics, even though I didn't go to college. I mean, I did go to college, but, not like those who went to college and got their degree. But she gave me such a foundation of hatred for academics that eventually I would come back to it. And I would appreciate it. And I would have a space for it when the time came. Because once your body gives out, and you can't have kids, and maybe you are suffering a disease, because that would have been my future, was to suffer from some lymphoma if I even survived it during this climate change. But the fact I had a brain that was able to release the demons from my body, I saved my own ass. That doesn't mean that you guys can do it. Remember, I had a great foundation. I left school at 8th grade and learned the cultures of the world. And then I went back, got my GED, went into the military, so went through that type of thing. And then went to the office, and then also took on college debt when I was mature enough to appreciate the education that I was signing up for. But those who go to college at like 15, 16, 17, 18, they're being programmed into a channel that they probably can't get out of and will not get out of. Just look at your friends and family who have degrees. They can't get out of their own way. They're too homogenized, too tunneled. It's those that go the non-traditional route that have a chance. But those that go the traditional route, no, you're done. You're fucking done. And look at how many people who are traditionalists out there. So many of them. And so go north, my friend. That's your fucking brain. You stay south. But here's the thing, too. Those who are going north, not realizing their kids and themselves don't have what it takes to support their brain. Eventually, their body will give out. Even though their brain's still going, their body will give out, and then eventually their brain will give out. Because they don't understand how to work both sides. They had to release the demons and build up strength and bone density and face the demons. And if they're trying to just go north without understanding, you have to nation build down here, just like the Civil War. We had to go through the nation building and the treachery of the slavery system, which sucks, yes. I mean, it's still a slavery system. But we had to go through the Civil War in order to build the brain. Nation building is first, if you can handle it, and then you evolve the brain. People are doing it backwards. They're trying to get the brain first, and they don't have the body for it. And they die suddenly. Even though their kids are smart, they're smart. It's not going to matter when your fucking body gives out. And so those who want wealth so quickly, like intellectual wealth, well, first you have to nation build. If you can't nation build, it doesn't matter how fucking smart you are. You're done. All right, bye.